Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon again. Today's video is a little bit longer than my traditional video, but it's well worth the watch, and that's because it features one of the strongest and most knowledgeable people I know when it comes to powerlifting and programming, Garrett Blevins. And I've mentioned him on the channel numerous times. I've hosted a few of his videos, but if you pay attention to powerlifting and raw powerlifting, it's a name that should ring some bells, but will definitely ring some bells after Raw Nationals this upcoming weekend. And that's the reason he came down here to stay with me as he traveled from the West Coast over to get some of his deload training in, which, as you'll be able to see on some of these clips in this video, is very impressive. But I've been working with Garrett on and off for the past year or two. He had a big hand in my own Campbell PRS program. I bounced a lot of ideas off of him, ran some things by him, and I truly value not only his friendship, but his opinion. And as part of that, he's offering a program and a coaching opportunity available. I know I'll be taking advantage of it, but I wanted to take some time for him to highlight his own services, not to mention spend some good amount of time talking about programming in general. So regardless if you want to take advantage of this opportunity, which you should, that's why I'm making the video, he does a good job explaining a lot of things to take into consideration for your own programming. So I'm going to stop talking and let's get to Garrett. I'll probably hit a workout real quick. All right, so we're going to start. You want to just talk about yourself in general? Tell me. Who are you?
My name is Garrett Blevins. Currently hold the American record in the 242-pound weight class for raw powerlifting with an 1873 total. I did that in the USAPL Federation, a drug-tested federation. It's something like a 670 squat, 479 bench, and 714 deadlift, somewhere around there. The kilos I always forget, but going to be competing at Raw Nationals. Hoping for some good things there here in Scranton, Pennsylvania this year. And what I want to do is offer this training program. It's based out of my experience. I've been lifting for a little over a decade now and have been on a lot of different programs, including the cube method. I've done some concentric acceleration training or compensatory acceleration training. And so been on a number of different training programs, looked at the Texas method. I have some series on that. But overall, what I've been working with lately is DUP, and especially with an RPE, an auto-regulated form of DUP that also has some elements of block periodization built into it. And additionally, on top of that, for kind of the overall look of the program, phase potentiation. You want to make sure that you're training the right way at the right time. You want to know what you're doing in your off season and why you should even have an off season in your training program. You don't want to do the same training every week over and over again, because your body's going to adapt to that, and then you're no longer going to be having a progression because your body's used to what you're doing. That's why if you bro out all the time and you just go in and do the same 3 sets of 10 over and over again, you're going to hit these ceilings with your strength gains and also with your size gains. You have to have progressive overload built into a program, and that means that the weights need to be increasing, and since you can't increase your weights exponentially with the same sets and rep ranges, you modify how many reps you do and how many sets you do. The sets primarily you manipulate to change overall volume in your workouts. The reps you change so that you can change the intensity of the lift, intensity being how much weight you're actually lifting as a percentage of your 1 rep max. The closer you are to competition, the more you're going to want to use lower rep ranges and less overall volume, so less sets usually, but heaviest weights. You're trying to get as close to your competition setting, and for powerlifting, that's going to be a 1 rep max on the squat, bench, and deadlift. So you're going to want to train as much as you can, as close as you can to that. The first variation, if you're a low bar squatter, the first variation from competition lifting would be to do more than 1 rep. So if you're doing a double, there's variation right there because you're going to do a single in competition. If you want an even greater level of variation, you wouldn't do low bar squatting, you would do high bar squatting. And so when you're further out from competition, you're going to want to do a greater variation of the exercise than we would when you're closer to competition. That's the difference between an off season and an in season. But even novice and intermediate athletes can benefit from an off season because you train different muscles, you're training a different movement pattern, and you're receiving a different stimulus on your muscles from those exercise variations. They allow you to build muscle in different areas, and then when you move into your next phase, you're set up with a larger muscle mass. The reason why you want that in strength sports is the more cross-sectional area you have in a muscle, the bigger your muscles are, the more force production potential you have in that muscle. The problem is, just because you build a big muscle does not mean that it's neurologically adapted to utilize all of its muscles area, to utilize all of its cross-sectional area at once in a unified manner. You have to have the neurological adaptation as well as training your central nervous system to utilize and recruit all of the available muscle fiber into a 1 rep max. You may be doing a great job at sets of 10 or even sets of 5, but not be able to translate that into a good single. It's a skill all in of itself to do a single, and that's why 1 rep max calculators are great, but they're often inaccurate. Some people are terrible at reps but great at singles. Other people are terrible at singles and great at reps. And some of that has to do with how much type 1 or type 2 muscle fiber you have, how you respond to various stimuluses, if your metabolic pathways are primed for endurance training or for explosive single rep scenarios. A lot of that you're not going to be able to change. If you have a bunch of type 1 muscle fiber, you're never going to be the greatest powerlifter in the world. If you have a bunch of type 2 muscle fiber, you're going to get strong really fast. And no matter who you are, you can always adapt whatever amount of muscle fiber you have to be stronger than where you start. The earlier you do that, when you're a novice just starting out, your body is going to adapt very quickly before there's any muscle growth. And that's because you're receiving the benefits of neurological adaptations. Those happen the quickest. However, once that happens, the only way to really get stronger is to increase your muscle size. And that's why you see rarely are you going to have a competitive powerlifter stay in the same weight class their entire career. They're usually going to move up. They may drop weight or stay at a certain weight class because they're the most competitive there, but normally that's directly relational to height. You see a lot of similarities as people go up to higher classes, their height increases. And that's because you're only able to put so much muscle on. Also, joint size is going to play a big role in that as well, and that's where you get some of the calculators. But just a word of caution, if you go to those calculators, don't set those as limits for yourself. Those are averages, those are studies that have been done, but at most they're looking at maybe 100 people in those studies, probably a lot less. Or they're looking at historic people, looking back through history and trying to gauge out of photographs or pictures what their measurements or what their height, weight, all those sorts of things are. Don't hold yourself back because of the limitations of a calculator. In the same way, don't hold yourself back to a 1 rep max based off of your set of 10 that you made. You may be great at singles and you just don't know it yet. The way that you're going to find out what your 1 rep max is by doing a 1 rep max. And to do that, you're going to need to train to do that. You don't want to go from doing 3 sets of 10 for the last 4 months and then someday just say, I'm going to max today. You haven't prepared yourself. You haven't gone into your 5s. You haven't gone into your 3s. And the more you progress your training slowly and you allow your body to adapt, the better you're going to do in each particular phase. The phases should build on each other. If you're trying to build muscle the week before your competition or the week before you're going to do a mock meet in the gym, that's the wrong time to try to build muscle. You should be building your muscle far away from your training. And even before that, you should be working on your VO2 max. You should be working on your air capacity, your breathing ability. Because when you're working with sets of 3 or sets of 5, you're just not going to get as a cardiovascular workout. But if you do a set of 20 on squats, I guarantee you're going to be winded. And so that's why you're not going to be doing that close to competition. You're doing singles in competition. What do you need to have endurance for? You just need to have enough endurance to be able to do 9 reps, 3 on squat, 3 on bench, 3 on deadlift. That's all you have to really do that day and warm up. So if you're in shape enough for that, if your fitness for your sport is good enough, then you're fine. You don't need to be ready to run a marathon. Even the people that you'll see out there in the fitness industry who have, run a 4-minute mile and then squatted 700 pounds, they have not done that in the same week. They've done that at different points in their career. And there's no reason why you can't focus on one at one time and another at the other. In fact, focusing on different competencies or abilities is a perfect idea. That's a great thing to do, but you need to know where they go. The program that I'm offering is going to have that already built in. You're going to have different phases. What we're running is a 20-week block, but you can jump in at any 5-week increment. So you can jump in at the beginning with 20 or 15, 10, or even 5 weeks. The issue is if you jump in at 5 weeks, the rest of us are going to be peaking all of the work that we've been doing for the previous 15 weeks. We're going to be moving into a strength phase with low reps at that point. And if you jump in, your results are not going to be as good because you haven't built the base. The bigger the base, the higher the peak. And so if you just try to run the peak over and over again, if you're a novice, that may work for you okay. But if you're an intermediate or advanced athlete, you're going to stall out really fast. And even though you're saying that, it's a 5-week microcycle, or it's a 5-week mesocycle, and you're running that, and that's a month, maybe you up that to 10 weeks. That's still not that much time in terms of adaptation. To build muscle and actually have substantial results, you're going to need to spend some time there. And that's what block periodization is all about. At different blocks, you do different sets, different rep ranges, and you're doing them with different results in mind. That said, the beginning of the program is also going to use exercises that are different than your competition lifts. It's going to allow you to build muscle in some different areas. So if you're a low bar squatter, which is going to have a lot of back and hips, glutes involved, you're going to be doing high bar squatting. And so you're going to build your quads. That's going to give you a stimulus that's going to help your low bar overall, especially as you're pushing out of the hole in low bar. But if you only ever trained low bar, you'd have a slower progression because different muscle groups are taxed more. And so for about half of the training cycle, you're going to be using exercises that are a variation of your competition movement. And for half of the training cycle, you're going to be using just the competition movements. Additionally, even if you're a novice or an early intermediate, the program, even though it's 20 weeks long, which is a really long cycle, it's going to work well for you because it's AMRAP driven. And what that means, AMRAP is as many reps as possible. The way that the program works is the first week you set up and you're setting your work sets at what's called RPE 6. That means after you do your set at, let's say it's 10 reps, you say to yourself, how many reps did I have left? How hard was that set on a scale of 1 to 10? And a 6 means you had, 4 or 5 reps left. So you could have done a set of 15, but instead you stopped at 10. And so you'll do repeated bouts most of the time unless you're used to a very low training volume at that RPE 6 weight, and then you will follow it with an AMRAP where you're going to work at a higher RPE. That could be an RPE 8, it could be an RPE 9. And so if you've been doing your work sets at RPE 6 and you've been doing sets of 10, if you do an AMRAP at RPE 9, you should get 3 or 4 more reps. If you get more than that, that's fine. Depending on how many more reps you get on your AMRAP, you will have an increase automatically on the next week proportionate to how many more reps you did. That way, even though you're working for 20 weeks, your progression is not based off of a predetermined max, what you come to the program with, or with your estimated max, what you would like to hit at the end of the program. The program builds and grows along with you. Additionally, if you're finding that you're recovering really well and that it's not taxing enough, you feel really fresh, and when the deloads come, you don't actually need them, that means you can probably handle more volume. And that's where the form is going to be very helpful. You can ask questions about that. If you're always on your AMRAPs getting like 7 or 10 more reps, it means 2 things. It means either 1, you started with weight that was a little too light, or 2, it means that your recovery is just awesome. You're getting strong really fast and you need more volume because you're not getting tired. If you're not taxing yourself and your weights are really light, you're not hitting that RPE 6 range, you're training more in kind of like RPE, it doesn't really exist. No one goes as low but 1 or 2, or you have 9 or 10 reps left in the tank. Then that means that you're not going to be giving your body the proper stimulus to be gaining optimally. You may still get stronger, but again, the goal of a program is not just to get stronger. We know that linear periodization works. We know daily undulating periodization works. These all work, but the question is which works best? What's most optimal? And research has been saying over and over again that an auto-regulated program, which has adjustments based off of objective markers like an AMRAP, is superior to any other workout. Additionally, a lot of research has been done on trained individuals that has said that DUP has an advantage, daily undulating periodization has an advantage over linear periodization in trained individuals. When you're starting out as a novice, pretty much anything works. But what I think is, if you're starting out, why not start with the best training program you have and stay on the optimal results and the optimal gains for your entire life? Even if you're getting 1 or 2% more, if you multiply that out by 10 or 15 training cycles, that's going to be a huge difference on the end. So that's something to think about. 1 or 2%, 1% of a 1,000-pound total is 10 more pounds. And so that's a big difference in powerlifting terms, especially if that's 1% every training cycle. That said, the program is 20 weeks. Brandon Campbell and myself will be working with it. We'll be both on a Facebook group that we'll be starting, as well as on a forum. In the forum, there are places to post questions about the workout itself. If you have questions on how to implement the workout, questions on how to modify the workout for your specific needs, questions on your form. There's a form review section where you can post. I'll be all over the forum, so will Brandon, but the community itself is a big point of the forum so that you can share the experience together. The reason why we're trying to start the whole group at one time is so that there can be a group of people going through, posting, and having the same experiences. When you go through each of the different phases, there are going to be different things that are difficult. When you start in phase one, the limitations are probably going to be your oxygen capacity, your VO2 max. The people who have already started running this kind of in the beta testing have all reported that it's not their muscles so much that usually get tired on their AMRAPs at the beginning of the program, but rather they start getting the tunnel vision or like starting to black out almost with squats because it's hard to breathe. That's on purpose. That's the point of that training cycle, is to start getting you in better shape so that when you spend the rest of the training cycle working with lower rep ranges, you've already built a base of endurance so that when you get to competition, you're still going to be able to handle that with ease, and you're not going to be gassed, you're not going to be out of breath, and that's going to help you do singles better. So what we're looking to do with this program is have a community, a group of people who are all trying to get stronger together. And within this community, I'm going to create custom programs for you all so that you have a program that isn't cookie cutter, that isn't based off of percentages or one rep maxes, but grows with you so you can get as strong as possible in the shortest amount of time, while still working and learning the proper training principles. You're going to be having proper phase potentiation. You're going to have exercise variation. You're going to have the right specificity at the right time and the right overload based on your objective performance of AMRAP sets. So one of the benefits of the programs that I create is because it's not a cookie cutter program, all of the exercises are going to be picked specifically out of where you miss or have weaknesses in your lifts. Now, some of this may be correctable through proper breathing. Bracing is very important, and it actually becomes a lot of the issues, as well as getting a neutral spine in the deadlift and the squat. Almost all form issues can be solved by that. Usually, even limitations in people, they think it's a mobility issue when really they're just not pulling their hips neutral. Regardless, wherever you miss your lifts is part of the questionnaire that I have people answer when they start the program. And then based off of what phase they're in, specific exercises are chosen to address those weaknesses. It's something that's not going to be in a Texas method or a starting strength, because those programs are made generally. They don't have weak point assessment. You're just doing the competition movements. And that's one of the biggest differences between this program and a lot of the ones that you'll see out there, the cube method or any of these. You can definitely modify those, but this program is pre-modified. And that way you don't have to guess or just think, oh, maybe I should do this. It's going to put you into some uncomfortable positions. You're not going to want to do all the exercises that it has. If you're weak off the chest, you're not going to want to do spoto presses because you're not even getting to touch the chest. You're having to pause it an inch off. But that's going to pay the biggest dividends. It's usually the exercises that we hate the most that are going to help us address our weak points and get us stronger overall. So if you're interested in starting the program, you can go to blessedcoaching.com. And there's a tab up at the top on the right side of the screen called the Blevins Campbell Special. And what this is, when you go to that screen, you're going to see two things. One, you're going to see a link to the forum, and you're going to see a sign up here. The sign up here is linked to a questionnaire, and I need you to fill out the questionnaire completely. I can't make you a custom program that is based on you if you don't give me information. And part of that is going to be the volume that you use week to week. In general, if you can average or get your kind of basic volume that you can tolerate, I don't want the most volume you've ever done, like your hardest week ever. Don't try to impress me by putting in big numbers. Put in what you normally do. The way that you get that is you take your barbell movements, squat, bench, deadlift, or close variations. You take the amount of sets times the number of reps times the weight that you use, and you have volume there. You also put in your competition movements, where you miss lifts, and you have an area there to put in what assistance exercises you like as far as dumbbell, barbell, cable work, that sort of stuff that would come after the main barbell movements for the day. Additionally, you can tell me there if you want to have it as 3, 4, or 5 days a week, depending on what works with your schedule, and I'll adjust the program so that it has different frequency throughout the week. Normally, there are going to be 3 squatting movements a week, there'll be 2 deadlifting movements a week, and there'll be 6 bench movements a week. And those will be split up. If you're doing, obviously, if you're working out 3 days a week, you're going to have multiples on each day. This is to help you get used to squatting, benching, and deadlifting on the same day as you would in competition. The forum, once you pay and sign up, then you can request membership to the forum. I'll put you in there. Make sure when you go to the forum that you do not sign in as a guest to the website, because then all I have is a guest requesting membership. You have to have an account with the forum service. There will be a link in the description box below, as well as on the website that I mentioned. blessedcoaching.com will have a link to the forum there. And you can request membership after you've paid. Make sure that if you are signing up, we're going to be starting all at the same time. This will either be the last week, the Monday of the last week of October, or the Monday of the first week, or maybe even the second week of November. The reason why I say there's a little variation there is I don't know how many people are going to sign up. And again, because it's not a cookie cutter program, I can't just send out all the programs to everybody. I have to make them. And so as many people sign up, I'll get them out as fast as possible, but we will be starting together. Brandon Campbell has already shown a little bit of footage with him running the program. We have some other athletes involved as well. We'll be mentioning some of those as well moving forward.
1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,000. Oh, hey, I didn't know the video was over just yet. You know, just doing my curl workout. Wednesday's back in buys, and I don't know if you heard, but I did well over 1,000. You know, I don't want to bore you, but it's just kind of my life. Anyways, if you made it this far in the video, you're probably somewhat interested. I just want to take the time real quick to say that I do think it's a good opportunity. Take it from someone who's hired other coaches before. This is a great price if you are interested in it. However, I know hiring a coach isn't for everybody. So if you're not really serious about your progress in the gym, it's probably not something you want to take advantage of, because you really have to commit in order to get the best bang for your buck. However, like I said, being someone who's worked with coaches before, this is a fantastic price. So just throwing that out there, of course. And if you do have struggles with money, there's always the NASM, who is offering a free 2-week trial of their services, so you can become a certified personal trainer and maybe make some of that money back. That link will also be in the description box below. I mean, seriously, it's a 20-minute video. You don't think I'd throw a NASM plug in there? You guys should know better by now. But again, if you're interested in the coaching services, the opportunity, I know I am. I can't wait to actually start on a full program. I've been kind of working my way back into it after taking a couple weeks off. I'm really excited to do so. And if you guys could join us, that would be cool. But if not, no hard feelings. You'll see my progress and all them gains and wished you had jumped in initially. So that being said, as always, thanks so much for watching. Talk to you soon. Stay big. Got a curl in my own squat rack. 1,004, 1,005, 1,006.